Alright, welcome to the video for lesson number 6 on the reciprocal functions. Um, so the three reciprocal functions we just have to understand are just reciprocals of the ones that we already know. So for example, secant we know is 1 over cosine, cosecant is 1 over sine, and cotangent is 1 over tan. So essentially, when I'm trying to figure out the cosecant, secant, or cotangent of an angle, I just need to know which one it's the reciprocal of and just essentially flip the fraction. So if I want to find the secant of 30, I know that the cosine of 30 is radical 3 over 2. So I'm just going to make this 2 over radical 3. If I wanted to find the cosine of 30, not cosine, sorry, cosecant of 30, well, that's the reciprocal of the sine of 30. Well, the sine of 30 is 1/2, so the reciprocal of that is 2 over 1. If I want to find the cotangent of 30, well, the tangent of 30 is 1 over radical 3, so that would become radical 3 over 1. I'm not going to rationalize here. If you're an accelerated, you should know to rationalize that secant of 30 up there, right? Make that 2 radical 3 over 3, but you get there on your own. So 5 pi over 3, that's radians, so 180 over pi. The pi's cancel. I can simplify there. So I have, what's that going to be, 300, quadrant 4. So I have to find a reference angle. So the reference angle is 60. So if the reference angle is 60, I know the secant, cosecant, and cotangent of 60. I just have to watch my signs. So if I do the secant of 5 pi over 3, I'm thinking the cosine of 60. Well, the cosine of 60 is 1/2. So if I flip that, it becomes 2 over 1. And since I'm in quadrant 4, I know it's going to be positive 2. Cosecant of 5 pi over 3. Well, that's going to be the reciprocal of the sine of 60. The sine of 60 is radical 3 over 2. Flip it, becomes 2 over radical 3. But we all know that sine is negative in quadrant 4, therefore its reciprocal is negative in quadrant 4. The last one's cotangent. Cotangent is the reciprocal of tan. So the tangent of 60 is radical 3 over 1. Flip it, I get 1 over radical 3. And again, we know that tangent's negative in quadrant 4. Negative 60 we don't like. So we're going to add 360 to it. We get 300. And then we notice that all of these answers are the same. That was kind of a silly one. I should have made it something different. But hey, we live, we learn. So the second question says if the angle is between pi over 2 and pi, find the other trigonometric values if the sine is 2 over 3. So this tells us what quadrant we're in. This tells us we're in quadrant 2. How do I know that? Well, pi over 2 is 90 and pi is 180, so I know that they are that's where we are, is in quadrant 2. So I can even draw a triangle in quadrant 2. The opposite side is 2, the hypotenuse is 3. I could do some quick Pythagorean theorem to find the missing side. And then if this is theta, because remember theta is always closest to the origin, we can find the other 5 functions. So we can find cosine. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse, but it's negative because we're in quadrant 2. I can find tan. Tan is opposite over adjacent, so that would be a negative again, but this would be 2 over radical 5. I'm not even going to rationalize, I'm just going to leave it like that. I can find secant, flip it, I can find cotangent. Just flip it. And I knew sine, so then I can find cosecant by just flipping it. So just knowing which ones are the reciprocals is really the main focus of today's lesson. Explain why the cosecant of pi is undefined. Well, pi we know is 180. So cosecant of 180 degrees is equal to 1 over the sine of 180. And we know that the sine of 180 is 0 from my unit circle. Therefore, this is undefined. So just knowing what cosecant is referring to as 1 over sine as a reciprocal is probably the most important concept there in number 3. This looks way more difficult than it really is. This is asking us to evaluate something. First thing I would do would get rid of those radian measurements. Let's make our lives easier. So I have 1 plus the tangent of 60 squared. Well, what is the tangent of 60? Well, if I look at my reference triangle or my special right triangle, the tangent of 60 is radical 3. So we get 1 plus 3, which is 4. So that's what I get by evaluating this. If I evaluate secant squared, well, secant is really just 1 over cosine. So this is really 1 over the cosine of 60 squared. Cosine of 60, well, cosine of 60 is 1/2. So the reciprocal of that is just 2, which is also equal to 4. So the part of, what do you notice, is they're equivalent to each other, meaning that's probably something special. And it is. It's something that we call an identity. Because they're going to be the same for all values, not just this pi over 3 value, we can use that in a future lesson, just not today. And the last part asks us to just do some reciprocal work here. So if cosine is 0.3, what's secant? Well, secant is the reciprocal of that. If you know anything about decimals, this is 3 over 10, so this becomes 10 over 3. Boom, we're done. Same thing here, this is really negative 1/2. So if I know that that's negative 1/2, to find the reciprocal of that, just negative 2. Tangent is 10, therefore cotangent is 1 over 10. And if the cosecant is negative 10 over 9, the sine, which is its reciprocal, is negative 9 over 10. And that's it. Hopefully this video helped. All right, again, the lesson is really just seeing if you know which are reciprocals of each other and just remembering that a reciprocal is just flipping the fraction. That's all we're really doing here. Hopefully these videos are helping you. Make sure that you are checking your homework to make sure you're doing them right, and keep studying, keep going over your notes, and it will be fine, I promise. All right, good luck.